Hey everybody, today we continue doing some math problems, and today we're still practicing basic mathematics, right? But we will be doing something different. We will be changing a fraction to a percent, okay? This is pretty simple, so I will do couple different problems, maybe 2 or 3, and then we will jump to percentage, because fraction is technically another way to represent decimals and percent, right? So let's do this. Let's say that you want to change a fraction to a percent. Okay, and let's say that when you add or subtract some number, like for example, like 1/4 plus 1/2, right? And you get this number when you add the fraction, you get 1/4 plus, you find the common denominator in this, which is going to be 2/4, right? When you add this, it's going to be 3/4, right? Of course, because 1/4 plus 2/4 is 3/4, correct? That makes sense? Okay, so let's say that you have this, so you got this answer, okay? And let's say that you got this answer, and then you want to change that specific number to a percent, okay? So let's do that. How we will change this fraction to a percent? Well, there is 2 ways to do this. One way is to divide the numerator by the denominator, and another way is to multiply by 100. So let's do it both ways, okay? And then I will say which method I would recommend, okay? So let's say that you divided this 3 by 4, right? So you put something like that, and you put the 3 over here, and you know the 4, and you know that 4 doesn't go into 3, and then you put a decimal point right there, okay? And then you add a 0, and maybe another 0. Okay, so then how many, and then let's say that you put a decimal point, you move one to the right? Okay, to make it 30. How many does 4 goes into 30? Well, it goes 7 times, okay? 7 times, right? Which is equal to, actually, yes, it will go, let's see. Yes, it will go 7 times is equal to 28, right? So 7 times, okay, the 7 is supposed to be there, right? Which is equal to 28. Then you do the multiplication right there, and you get 7. Sorry, this is 28. All right, and then you subtract, and you get a 2, right? Subtract that, and you got a 2, and you bring this 0 down, and you do that, right? So then, how many times goes 4 into 20? It goes 5 times, which is equal to 0.75, right? 0.75. Which makes sense, right? It's 75 cents of a dollar. It's, makes sense, right? So then this is the whole point of doing this. You have to make sense. If you're not making sense out of the mathematics, it's because probably, you're doing something wrong somewhere in mathematics has to make, has to make sense. If you're doing the right thing, you will feel, you have that feeling that you're doing the right thing, and it has to make sense in the process. Okay, so now you got a 0.75, right? So we got a decimal, right? So we have a decimal. So we change it to a decimal, okay? So 0.75, right? Now, then what you do, you take that 0.75 and what you do right here, instead of you can multiply by that by 100, or you can simply move these two places to the right and you do the same thing, right? And then you get, from the decimal point, you move it two places to the right because 100 is two places, right? And then you get 75, okay, and then you add the percent sign, right? And then you got a 75%, which makes sense because when you do from this number, you get 75%, which is 3/4, still 3/4, right? 25 plus 25 plus 25 is 75%, right? If you end up subtracting that from 100, you will get that 1/4 is left over, which is the one that we're missing over here, right? Makes sense. Now, so that is the method, right? Which is the one that I don't recommend, right? But I will tell you why I don't recommend this method. I mean, you can do it with a calculator. You don't even have to divide this by hand. But the problem is, what if your teacher wants you to actually show you work, okay? So I'm going to teach you how to do this, another method. Okay, so let's do the same problem. Let's do the same problem. Let's do 70. Let's do the same problem. Okay, let's do 3/4, right? And you want to convert that into a percent. Well, the easiest way to do this, and also the most convenient way, I will say, is multiplying by 100, which is the same thing, right? So multiply by 100, okay? And then when you multiply by 100, then this becomes over 1. Okay, and then you do cancellation. We have been doing fractions, and we have been doing cancellation. We have been canceling, numbers, and this is a very good method. Okay, so let's see how many times force goes into itself equals 1 time, right? How many times force goes into 100? It goes 25 times, right? And then look at this, and then all you have to do at this point is multiply 3 times. 3 times 25, right, is 25, right? And 1 times 1 is 1. 25 over 1 is nothing but, I'm sorry, this is supposed to be 75. I'm sorry, 75, right? And then 1 over 75 is nothing but 75, right? And then just add the percent sign and you're done, okay? Okay, so let's do that, all right? Now, let's do another simple one. Let's do this. Let's do 1/4. Convert that to a percent, the same thing, okay? Then you do, this is 100, right? And then over 1. How many does force goes over on itself? It goes 1 time. How many times goes force into 100? It goes 25 times. And then this is nothing but 25 times 1, and then it's equal to 25. 1 times 1 is 1. So 25 over 1 is 25. Add the percent sign, and you get, of course, 25%, which is what we expect, because 1/4 is actually 20. It's like you're saying 25 dollars out of 100. Well, it's 25%. $25 is 25% of 100, right? Or maybe 1/4 that of a dollar. Represent a whole dollar, but multiply it by 1/4 is simply 25 cents, right? The same thing. Now, let's do another problem. let's do another problem. A problem that has a little, maybe a little bit of different type of fractions. Let's say that you're dealing with something like maybe 1/6. Or maybe 2/5. 1/6. 1/6. Okay. 1/6, right? And then you do the same thing. You multiply by 100, okay? And then you put over 1, okay? Now we have a little, not necessarily hard, but it's a little different. Okay, because right here, I am going to look for a number that is divisible into these two numbers, right? So I gotta divide that by 2 is equal to 3. If I divide that by 2 is equal to 50, right? And 50 times 1 is 50. 1 times 3 is nothing but 3. And then when you do that, it's going to be equal to, if this was 48, it was going to be 16, even, but it's 50, so therefore it's going to be about 16 point something. And let me do it with the calculator so I can do it fast. Okay, so 50 divided by 3 is nothing but 16.6666 and 6 and another something like that, which you can round this up to 16.7, and then you can add a percent sign and you're done with it. Okay, so and this makes sense, right? Because in this case you end up with a number that is, when you do the cancellations, you got 3 parts on the bottom, the numerator, and then in the denominator. In the numerator you have, little more than 48. So therefore, that answer makes sense because it has to be little higher than 16%, right? So now let's do another problem. Let's do another problem real quick. Let's do something like, let's do a number that is greater than 100. See, this makes sense. Let's do like 5/4. Okay. So 5/4, I am expecting that's going to be greater than 100, right? 100%. Okay, so let's do it. Okay, so multiply that by 100, and then what you do right here, you do 1, you do 25, right? Or 1. Okay, and then you multiply that. If you multiply that number, okay, and the numerator is going to be equal to 125, right? And then 125 over 1, which is 125, right? And then this move 2 places move these 2 places to the right, right? Which technically, in this case, you're dealing with a number that is like 1 and 2. Let's see. Actually, no. Wait a second. No. Because I am doing this. So technically, what I am getting right here is 125. I'm sorry about that. And then all you're doing is add the percent sign, and then you get 125%. Isn't that what I expected? That's not what I expected because I have a 5 quarters. 5 quarters is represent by 125, which makes sense. I got a 5 quarters right here. That's what I'm talking about. It has to make sense. Now, if you do the other way, the same thing. You divide 5 divided by 4 is equal to 125, right? And then you take that number and multiply by 100, it's equal to 125 again. So you can do it easy with the calculator, but you have to show your work. If your teacher wants you to show your work, you have to show your work, right? So that is what we're doing right here. So 125% is the same as saying 5/4. Makes sense because I got a 5/4, so therefore I had to have 125%, right? Okay, so now that we did some fractions, we changed some fractions to percentage. Now we are going to move on to something different. Something different. Let me do this quick. Maybe 1 or 2 problems. Let's say that you want to find a percent of a number. Okay, so I'm trying to find a percent of a number, okay, of certain numbers, giving maybe 2 numbers, all right? And I can say that, what percent of 30. Oh, let me pick another number. I don't like that. Okay, what percent of 30 of 60 is 15? Question mark. Okay, so I'm trying to find out what percent of 60 is 15. Okay, so let's do this step by step. First, we represent percent with the percent symbol, right? That's what we're looking for. Then the word of may multiply, right? And then multiplies, just a dot or multiplication. And then 60, right? And then the word is equal to 15. Okay. So now this is what I'm looking for, okay? But it's kind of weird to solve an equation using this percentage. So I would rather say that x is equal to that percentage, all right? So now if x is equal to this, then I can say that x times 60 equaled the equal sign 15, right? Now, let's divide. I have an equation right here. Remember, I have an equation. So therefore, I have to divide by 60. Divide by 60, right? This cancels out. And x is equal to simply 1/4, right? Okay, reducing that, how many times goes 15 by itself? It goes 1 time. How many times goes 15 into 60? It goes 4 times. So, and therefore we know that this right here is equal to 2.25, which is the same thing as 25%, right? So therefore x is equal to 25%, right? So therefore percentage, right here I can put a percentage, is equal to that, right? So therefore that the percentage, all I have to do in this case is just replace, actually because I'm solving for percentage, so therefore I just add the percent sign, right? And I get that this is 25%, right? Okay, cool. That makes sense because because how many 15th there are in 60? Well, that is 4, so therefore that makes sense. Okay, so let's replace those numbers by something else. Let's do another number. Let's do a number that is not quite the same as this one. That is not an even number. Let's do, a number that is evenly divisible, I would say. Okay? Let's do another number. Let's do 33. And let's do 9. Okay? And the reason why I picked 33, I didn't pick 36, because 36 I'm going to have again 25%, so I pick a number less than 36 and see what I get. Okay? So again, I will do the same method. I let x is equal to the percent sign, which is this what I'm looking for, right? And I say that x times this word, that word represent times, right? Times 33, and I get, in the other side, I get 9, okay? Now, look at this. Look at this. Now, when I divide both sides by 33, and divide both sides by 33, okay, so I get that x is equal to 9 over 33. Okay, so then, okay, let's see. Let's do that quick, because I don't think I got a lot of time. So therefore, I get 9, right? 9 divided by 33, and is equal to, is equal to 0.27, 27, and 27. You just keep going and keep going. 27, 27, 27. And therefore, you can round this up and you can say 0.28, because that is a repeating number. Okay? So therefore, it's 0.28, right? And then you add a percent sign. And therefore, that's it. Okay, now, did this make sense? It really does make sense, because the number is less. The denominator is less, right? So it give me a number that is greater than 1/4, and that makes sense because the number and the denominator is less. If that number was 36 divided by 9 divided by 36, like I told you before, it's going to be 0.25 again. Okay, that is a reason why I did that. The number, this is a higher percentage because the denominator is less than a number that was like, that was divisible evenly by 4/4, by 4/4, because we know that 36 is 4 times 9, or therefore, and 9, okay, so then if we do 36 over 9 over 36, it will be 1/4, but in this case it's 9 over 33, which is less. I will be expecting that the percentage is going to be a little higher, and that's it. I think that this is makes sense, and I hope this helped anybody who was taking basic mathematics. And again, this is basic percentage. We found the percentage of a number when another number is given technically, what percent, we saying right here, what percent of 33 is 9, okay? What percent of 33 is 9? Which means that this is the denominator, and this is the numerator, which is a part of the whole, right? Part over the whole, and that would make sense. You can do this in the calculator too, no problem. All you have to do is, 33 divided by, 9 divided by 33 is equal to that, repeating decimal, 27, 27, 27. All you have to do is multiply that by 100, and you get the same thing. You can write this down. Also, you can write this down as, as 27.3%. Okay, so you can do that too. Okay. So therefore, this is how you find a percent of a number when the numbers are given. Okay, what percent of 33 is 9? Okay, so again, thank you for watching, and I hope this helped anybody who is taking basic mathematics. Thank you for watching.